There are a lot of people who are afraid to be expressed. They prefer to cling on to a thought. They cling on to a thought self as well. They're afraid to be as expressed as the nothingness. What's my dream tonight? A lady was selling something. She had a table where she showed other people the things that she's selling. But interestingly, this lady invites me to take whatever I liked. So we went into the side of the table where she would normally be there selling. In other words, I'm not on the side of the table of a customer, but I go in and was standing at the side of the table where I became the seller. Okay. And my wife picked up something and said, yeah, why not we have this? Yeah. The lady says pick up anything, so we just pick up something. Yeah, I said that. Okay. But remember, no, we must give back something. I told my wife, we must give back something. Yeah. And that's what happened. There were many other parts of the dream, okay? Not very clear in my mind. But all these parts of the dream, something was telling me this. Are you differentiating between the two? Yes. I mean, there was one part where I was taking one part. And I was also taking another part. And then suddenly a thought came into my brain during the dream. Differentiate them. See a difference between that. Even though it is empty, even though the shade doesn't appear at all a shade, you must differentiate them. That's right. That's what the dream is telling me. And what happened after I woke up? After I woke up, I have this idea to solve the problem for my tenant. My tenant has a shop. It's my shop, but he is renting my shop. And I had to solve the problem for the tenant. And I don't mind solving the problem, but it's not my problem. But he asked me to solve the problem for him. I gladly do that. And he was saying that the front door of the building had been closed for security reasons. And because of that, his customer, have to go through the back door of the building in order to reach the shop. So that has kind of affected his business. Yeah, I kind of realized that. So I said, so it dawned on me that the solution to the problem would be place a sign at the front of the building, giving a direction to your customer so that they would know how to go to the back door. That's right. And the sign must lead them to the back door. And at the back door itself, have an advertising sign on top of that door and leading them to your club. That leads to a staircase that goes direct to your shop. And I saw how I could do it this morning when I wake up. So why am I saying this? Because the very important point I want to say is that the thoughts that come into your mind immediately upon waking up has something to do with the dream as well. I always tell this to my son. In order to interpret your dream, you also must interpret and discover how the thoughts that come after your dream, the thoughts that come upon waking up, are they different from the thoughts during the dream, and how are they similar, and as a result of which you can help yourself to interpret the dream. That's right. Now, and I told my son that this is how you interpret your dream. You have to use the thoughts of the waking state together with the dream of the night state to discover the meaning of the dream. You cannot, I always tell my son, you cannot interpret the dream as a dream itself. You must use the waking state to help you. And the waking state is of not much value if you have not used the dream to assist you in your waking state. There has to be the integration of two worlds. You have to integrate your thought self with your breath. You cannot possibly live apart. You have to distinguish them and at the same time integrate them, so to speak. And this is how we live successfully in this world. Just as Jesus said, "You're in this world, but I have taken you out of the world." You must participate in this world, and yet at the same time, be the person I am. It's the very same thing that made you successful in what you're doing. You have to interact with people. Isn't that right? If you want to live in your mountains and forget about the people that is in this world, you will never be successful. Yeah, you'll be just a monk. But for my case, you see, my hair is like a monk. And yet at the same time, I'm an auditor, I'm an accountant in this world. So I participate in this world and at the same time be myself. And that's what I told my tenant. I told him that the main door, although it may be closed, but you have to put a sign there, leading them to the back door. There has to be a distinction between the front and the back, but you have to integrate the two, or otherwise there is no success. Everything requires the integration of two opposites. But a lot of people cannot do that. They either throw one away and hold on to the other. But that's not my purpose in life. I need to have both, and yet have a distinction between them. You see, so in the dream of the night, my wife went to the site where the seller is selling. I mean, my wife is not a seller. We actually should be on the other side as a customer. But we went in to the table and go to the site where the seller is. And then my wife said, "Let's take what we want." Then I said, "Oh no, I know we are invited to be on this table and we're invited to take whatever we want. I know we are, but it's still not possible for me to take it without giving back something. There is still a theft involved." But it's not an easy solution. You see, in the dream, the husband and wife, me and my wife, went to the site of the seller. So you may say that it's my wife who wanted to take all of it, but it's not true. My wife is the other part of me. So the other part of me wants to take. And so the other part of me is saying, no, we mustn't take. Notice there's always this duality. And very interestingly, we are always given a choice. We have to make a choice between two. Many a times you may say to yourself, I did this wrong, and I don't think I have a choice. But actually it's not true. And there is always a choice given to us. So to speak, there's always a temptation. And I have to make that choice. One side of me wants to take. And the other side of me is telling me, oh no, don't take. And I have to make a choice. Now, what is important to realize is that some people are saying that to themselves, that they have no temptation whatsoever. They are completely pure. That there's no such thing as a thought in their mind to do evil. But this doesn't happen at all. This dream is telling me there's no such thing. There's always a choice we have to make. And there's always a temptation out there. And we have to say no. And we have to say yes. There's a choice to make in our journey to I Am. In the dream, there was a point when I saw something empty. And a voice came to me telling me, no, you still have to make a distinction. And I'm still asking myself, what distinction am I to make when something appears empty? But the voice is telling me I got to make a distinction. And in this distinction, there is a choice to make. It's always there. And it's very, very true. Even in empty space, there is a voice of God speaking from there. You have to make a distinction so that you can decode the voice in the thought phenomena. You have to do that. And after making that distinction, there is a duality. There's a voice and there's a thought. And we have a choice. Which one we want to decide? We want to stick to the voice or we stick to the thought? The thought is pleasurable, but the voice is inside. And we have a choice. You know, there is this idea in a lot of people. I'm pure. I'm clear. But they don't realize that actually temptations is always there. There are always moments when you say, should I take that or not? There are always things that go wrong. You have a choice to decide not to take that wrong. People don't want to admit that. People think in their mind that the thinking of evil itself is evil, but it's not exactly so. There is a choice. The thinking of the evil will come through your mind. But then within that thought that is passing through your mind, there's a choice to make, whether you want to follow that evil or whether you want to retract from it. And some people will call that suffering, but that is inevitable. These choices we are making all the time. And it is inevitable because we have to make a choice. And what is a choice? A choice is the will of the I Am, pushing out to decide what you must do. Why, even in an empty space, the choice has to be made. And you have to hear the voice. Why? Because the I Am seeks to push itself out. The I Am is everywhere, but you don't notice it because you don't make distinctions. You're so scared of the voice that is from within. We are very frightened of that many times because the voice from the within is breath. The voice from the within is nothingness, pure nothingness of the highest kind, but it's the breath. There are a lot of people who are afraid to be as breath. They prefer to cling on to a thought. They cling on to a thought self as well. They're afraid to be as the breath, as the nothingness. But even then, that's the point of my video, even then, there's a choice to make. And choices is always a struggle. Yes, even in the emptiness, there is a distinction to make. There's a voice to hear. And you have to make a choice as a result of the voice that you hear. And this is the point of my video. The moment you are thinking, but you only hear the thoughts of your thinking. Every moment you're talking to, but you only hear the thoughts of your talking. The message of this dream is that you must try to hear the voice of the thoughts and the true voice of the talking, for that is nearest to me.